When we think of private jets, we usually picture ultimate luxury, right? Champagne, fancy seats, the whole deal. But what if I told you that for the folks actually buying them, it's way less about luxury and way more about a really intense business calculation? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the wild logic behind buying a multi-million-dollar asset that just happens to fly.
It all kicks off with a number that's, well, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. $30 million. That's the budget we're playing with today. And believe me, while that figure gets you into a very exclusive club, the entry fee is just the very beginning of the story. So that's the real question, isn't it? If you have that kind of money, how do you actually make a smart move? This isn't like walking onto a car lot. This is a deep dive into a world of incredible detail, complicated logistics, and, frankly, mind-bending finance.
So, where do you go to do this? Our story starts at this really unique place in London called the Jet Business. And you've got to understand, this is not your average dealership. This is more like a command center where potential buyers come to figure out exactly what they need from an aircraft that costs as much as a small skyscraper. This is the first thing you're hit with, and it's the core philosophy of the whole operation. It perfectly captures the first big mental shift you have to make. The jet isn't a toy, it's a tool. It's sold as a capital asset for a company, a machine built to solve the one problem that money usually can't fix, getting more time. Okay, so how do you even begin to choose? Get this, there are 148 different models of private jets out there. It's completely overwhelming. So what they do, which is really smart, is they start with 3 simple filters to funnel you down from total chaos to a clear, short list of real options. All right, let's plug in our numbers and see what happens. We have a $30 million max budget. We need a cabin that can hold at least 8 people. And our longest, most important trip is from Dubai to London nonstop. Just those 3 things and boom, we've gone from 148 models all the way down to just 58. See, the picture's already getting a lot clearer. So once you have that manageable list of jets, the next step isn't about flipping through glossy brochures. Nope. It's about actually experiencing the space and thinking through the real-world practical side of using this, quote, time machine. And we keep coming back to this idea, don't we? Every single decision is viewed through this lens. Is the layout of this plane right for an 8-hour workday in the sky? Is your team going to land rested and sharp enough to close a billion-dollar deal? Suddenly, the answers to those questions are worth millions. Now, here's something I found absolutely fascinating. The broker there says the one question people never think to ask, but is maybe the most important, is about baggage. How much luggage can I fit on this thing? It sounds so minor, but can you imagine spending 30 million bucks on a jet only to realize you can't fit your team's bags for a week-long trip? It's a logistical nightmare that could wreck the whole point of owning the plane. To get around problems like that, they have this incredible tool, a 100% full-scale digital floor plan that they project right onto the wall. You can literally walk into the projected cabin of a Gulfstream, feel how wide the aisle is, see how big the windows are, and then, with a click of a button, it switches to a Challenger, and you can physically feel the difference. It's not about which one is better, it's about which one feels right for what you need to do. Okay, so you've done it. You picked out your perfect $30 million jet. Congratulations. Now, you might want to sit down for this next part. Because the purchase price, that's a one-time headache. The cost of just keeping that thing ready to fly, well, that's a whole different level of expensive. Get ready for this number. For a Gulfstream G550, which is a pretty common choice at this price point, you are looking at an annual operating cost of around $3.6 million. Every single year, that works out to almost $10,000 for every single hour that jet is in the air. That is the cold, hard financial reality of owning one of these. So, where in the world does all that money go? Well, it basically gets split into 2 big buckets. You've got your fixed costs. That's a little over half the bill. This is stuff you pay whether you fly 1 hour or 400 hours. It's your pilot salaries, your insurance, the rent for the hangar. The rest are your variable costs. Things like fuel, landing fees, and catering that you only pay for when you're actually flying. And if you're thinking, I'll just save some money on the small stuff inside, think again. The cost of customization is just insane, mostly because of all the engineering and safety certifications required. You want to swap out a couch for 2 individual chairs? That'll be $400,000, please. Somebody spills wine on the carpet? Replacing it costs 70 grand. It's just wild.
Now, hearing all that, you're probably thinking this has to be the single worst financial decision a person could ever make. And you'd have a good point. But hold on, this is where the strategy gets really, really clever. What if the jet wasn't just a giant money-burning hole in your pocket? What if it could actually become a business that makes money? This is the big secret of the private aviation world. About a third of all private jets out there are available to be chartered. Basically, when the owner isn't using their plane, they rent it out to other people. It's a super common strategy to help knock down those massive fixed costs we were just talking about. And here's how the math on that works. Let's say the owner's cost to actually fly the plane is about $5,700 an hour. But they can rent that same plane out to a charter customer for about $12,000 an hour. You see where this is going? For every single hour someone else is flying their jet, the owner is making over $6,000 in pure profit. Let's put that into a real scenario. Say the owner's fixed costs for the year are $1.6 million. If they manage to charter the plane out for 200 hours, they'll generate $1.2 million in profit. That profit directly slashes their own annual bill all the way down from $1.6 million to just $400,000. That is a game changer. So the big takeaway here is this. The more the plane flies, it doesn't matter if it's the owner flying or a charter client, the more of those huge fixed costs get spread out over more hours. That actually lowers the effective hourly rate for the owner. It's this amazing economy of scale where using it more makes your own personal trips progressively cheaper. Of course, it's not a perfect system. I mean, come on. Renting out your $30 million baby comes with some serious headaches. You're getting calls at all hours to approve charter flights. And you have to live with the constant nagging fear of somebody spilling red wine on that $70,000 carpet. Or even worse, a kid with a Sharpie thinking your suede walls are a coloring book. Which brings us right back to our big question. After looking at the staggering price tag, the terrifying annual upkeep, and the really clever business model to make it all work, what's the verdict? Is a private jet an incomprehensible liability, just draining millions from your bank account every year? Or, if you run it like a business, is it the ultimate strategic asset, a time machine that can actually help pay for itself? Well, the answer seems to be, it all depends on how you fly it.